next level from them. Maybe they'll be able to unlock it right here. I hope so. I'd love to see a game number 3 of this series. It should be a really fun one at least. But right now we are going to see a lot more of these standard bans going through. The Aurora that we highlighted as a potential pickup for Xiaohu is going to be taken off the board, and we're going to see those top 2 ADCs immediately removed.
Yeah, and with things like the Gwen and the Nefiri now no longer available, or the Vi, who has also been a very high priority pick here early on in this season, starts to open things up a little bit in the draft. I will say the Rumble still unbanned. We'll see if Top Esports want to take that one away, as that seems to be one of the final high priority picks. The Jace was also banned in game number 1, also not on the table. So right now, it seems like the top laner is going to have a little bit more flexibility, as the Rumble is the champion that is taken away by Top Esports.
Yeah, the Rumble's so strong at the moment, makes sense to get rid of, but in terms of B1s that are still up and available, there's actually not a lot of that top tier of things to really pick up. The Renekton's been coming through a little bit like that. Actually, Skarner has gone straight through this one, which has been pretty high priority for a lot of different players as well. Instead, Breathe looking to go straight on towards the Scion. Interesting.
Weird.
Now, it works well in terms of just a big overall teamfight composition, what we've been saying Weibo likely would like to do for themselves, but still blind picking it on B1. We haven't seen that a lot.
Yeah, you know, one of the big counters that you can throw at a Scion is, you know, either the Gwen or the Ambessa. Both of those are not available via either Fearless or, you know, actually just traditionally banned away here. So not too bad for Breathe to lock in something like this Scion. There still are specific lane counters that 369 could pick up and have a very high effectiveness rate on, but not going to lock it in this first phase. It's going to be Misfortune Azir to start things off for Top Esports, and it's going to be a very different approach from game number 1. Very pick-oriented in game 1. Much more, you know, 5v5 this time around.
Absolutely, the Wombo combo is already set up, and we've only got 2 champions right here for Top Esports. Very unlikely that this is going to run out of damage, as we saw Weibo do in the previous game. So they're just going to need those pieces around it to make this composition work for right now. Weibo, though, we've been talking about Xiaohu a lot, how his champion pool's a little bit limited. The Talia, one of the things he's been picking up a lot recently, and has been looking okay on it. It's been one of the better pickups that we've seen out of Xiaohu. And, I mean, honestly, almost anything could look better than the Ryze did in that game number 1. And Light is going to pick himself up the Ezreal right here. So these teams kind of swapping around a little bit in terms of the way that they're wanting to play. What will Top Esports round things out with? The Jace, as we were highlighting, one of those top priority champions, very strong at the moment, could be moved around as well if they didn't already have themselves something into the mid lane. Ooh, do you just want to take this here? I mean, it works so well with the Wombo combo composition.
This was the one champion that Kanavi was not able to do too much on in the first series that they played in the regular season. I will also say that Jace is not a great matchup into the Scion. Scion can soak up a lot of that damage and actually have some kill threat at certain points at some certain item spikes as well. So that's kind of the mind games that Weibo play by B1ing this Scion. The one other powerful top lane pick, the Jace, not a great matchup as we head into the second phase of bans. That Jin Zhao taken off the board, which means that Tian's going to have to play something a little bit different once more.
Yeah, no Vi, no Jin Zhao. Let's see what he decides to go towards right here. With the composition that you've got for yourself at the moment, I think you could probably go towards something like the Sejuani, just kind of chill out a little bit maybe in the jungle, try for those early ganks, be a good presence during the team fights. There's obviously still quite a lot of that second tier of jungle still up and available. TES, they're going to be more than happy with the initial bones that they've got of this composition. It's Wombo combo focused, you've got a jungler that can really facilitate that. Be interesting to see if we're going to get another engage support going down. They've taken the Nautilus off of the board themselves, but things like the Rel work so well with this composition, so too can the Renata.
A lot of different options here. You know, when team fighting is such the big name of the game, you already locked yourself for Top Esports. You know, some champions with huge AoE ultimates. You can either follow up on that, or maybe even look for something to dominate the laning phase a little bit more. You know, things like Karma still available. Bard also, like if you want a little bit of extra utility. If Chris wants to get a little weird, but maybe the Rel makes more sense here to fully round out the team fight composition and leave that last pick for 369, unless you go for something like the Ornn. Talking about the hovers too much is not what you're supposed to do as a caster.
It makes so much sense in this composition, does the Rel. It just really rounds things out right here. Again, it very much isn't a shock what Top Esports are going to want to do with this composition. They want a team fight, they want to get those big wombos off, and Crisp had such an impressive performance in the previous game on the Poppy that I would be happy to give him a lot of priority right here on this rail, get him as that initial bit of engage that everybody else can then follow up with. Weibo, they still need themselves their support and their jungler, most likely, unless we're getting something really weird happening right here. The Leona, very strong at the moment, a little bit more single target in terms of its full lockdown, but you can obviously get that ulti off to really disrupt the plans of Top Esports in and amongst these team fights. Works very well alongside the Sion as well. So what for the jungle? What do we get Tian play? We have no clue what he likes in this current split at the moment, and he's going to go towards the Lilia. It's very different to the playstyle we've expected from him. He likes being aggressive early on. Lilia does not. She wants to sit and farm.
That's very interesting. I was thinking that Weibo were maybe lacking some physical damage, and something like a Viego or Lee Sin could work here for Tian, but instead going to be that Lilia selection. See what the final pick for 369 is. That Yorick popped up in the LTA yesterday, but instead it's going to be the Jace. So opting into not the ideal 1v1 lane matchup here for 369, but we'll be able to provide side lane threat later on, as well as adding a little bit of extra poke to what is already a strong top esports composition.
And like we were saying, right, as much as you can be like, it's not the greatest matchup in your lane, 369 ended up dying in his lane matchup in the previous game and was still able to be incredibly effective on it. And in this wombo combo composition that you've got for Top Esports, you need something with a little bit more range, a little bit more poke to be able to get you into these team fights, stop Weibo Gaming from being able to just walk up in every single situation. And 369 is also going to be more than happy to jump in hammer form once all of that combo goes down from the rest of his team to be able to clean up those kills, make it work. Even if it's not the best match for him in the lane, I'm not too worried about him. I don't think that is going to be the place where Top Esports can fall apart. I think if that's going to happen, then it's going to be very much on the mid lane and bot lane being dominant right here for Weibo.
Top Esports overall much more playing towards the composition than playing for the lane, I would say. We're looking for the later stages of this one for them to really take over. You know, the first game was early game oriented for them. They had things like the Kaisa to set up early plays. This time around, you're waiting for those big team fight ultimates. You're waiting for the big wombo combo moment, as you say. Whereas for Weibo, a little bit all over the place here. The Lilia really throws a wrench in things for me here.
It's such a different kind of pickup to what we've been expecting out of him, right? So much more involved in these early game skirmishing champions where you need to get things going right at the very beginning of the game and help your team out through high gank priority and high damage in the skirmishes. That's not Lilia. Lilia would much prefer sit back and allow the game to happen around her for a little while, get that level 6, and then once you have that ulti, really change things up. Now, if you can be incredibly accurate with that swell seed, you can be a good engage tool for your team, but more I think this Lilia is going to be a lot more about the follow-up damage happening a little bit later on. Like you said, they are kind of lacking in terms of just straight up AD damage, but the AP could well more than make up for it.
Well, here we are at the Rift. Game number 2 between Top Esports and Weibo Gaming. Rematch of our Summer 24 lower bracket finals, which were won by Weibo the last time around. It was a 5-game series, though, and historically these two teams have been closely contested in the standings, always towards the top of the table. As we get an early start for Weibo potentially on this engage, they force at least a little bit of damage onto JackeyLove and spot out the 80 carry for TES.
Yeah, just going to get themselves a little bit. I don't think you're going to be too worried about that in the early game. Looks like it's just going to be, a little bit of skirmishing bot lane. Weibo being more annoying than anything else. Now, as much as I was talking about how I don't think it's going to be the top lane that completely changes things, it will still be an interesting matchup to watch, to see how 369 actually tries to navigate his way through this one. And hang on, they didn't actually get the base off. They have now lost quite a lot of health, have the bot lane for Top Esports starting out this game.
So, it'll be the lanes that work well for Weibo. I will say, like, in terms of this top lane matchup, 369, he has angles to get kills, especially early on in the game. It's once we get to that mid-game point where Sion gets, like, to that one-item power spike where things could maybe get a little bit spicy. Speaking of spicy, already trading summoner spells in the bottom lane as JackeyLove gets chunked to below 250 HP, has to burn the cleanse, and Crisp uses his ignite as well.
And this is what you can do with any kind of composition with the Ezreal. As much as he is often used just to be able to sit by himself underneath towers and allow the support to go roam elsewhere, you can also get very aggressive early on, especially alongside something like the Leona. The fact that JackeyLove already doesn't have the cleanse, has already been ignited, not ideal, is burning through pots and cookies already in this game. And now Tian hovering in the area. This is a very risky dive to do at level 2.
It's 2 camps in the bot lane, but it's going to work out for Weibo because Crisp and Jackie are still level 1.
Hang on, does it?
However, the tower's heated up, and Crisp has gotten himself a double kill. Oh my goodness, it looked so good, but turned out so poorly.
Oh no, that's exactly what you didn't want to have happen as Weibo. Like I said, very risky to go for this dive early. It's not too bad to try get a kill onto JackeyLove, of course, but Crisp has quite a lot of CC and is healthy enough once that play starts to just be able to keep himself alive. Gets that initial stun off as well right here. Yeah, onto 2 members, pops Hang, and then Tian's just taking way too much damage. It's only 2 tower shots that take him out.
I will say, no reason for a level 2 Lilia to be re-engaging onto the rail after already getting that first kill. It should be immediately back clicking away from the tower after it's already been secured. Might have been able to save his life there. Unfortunately for him, now means that Kanavi actually has a big advantage in terms of tempo, even though the camps haven't been stolen away. He's already level 4, whereas Tian is level 3. And now JackeyLove and Crisp off of this reset are actually able to get a nice push in with Kanavi in the area.
Of course, Crisp does get both of those kills, so it's not going to be quite as bad as if JackeyLove was able to pick one of those up. But still, getting the rel ahead early, not going to be anything to sniff at right here for top. They're actually going to be walking up, seeing if they can potentially disrupt Tian. Tian doesn't actually have the smite quite yet. Just about going to get it up here. Yeah, it just came back within the last second. Otherwise, that could well have been a stolen away red buff. And like you said, the tempo just so much in the favor of Kanavi.
Kanavi's just bullying Tian at this point. He has JackeyLove and Crisp like alongside him. But now Weibo going to try to bail out their jungler a little bit. And now Hung trying to land Zenith Blade onto Crisp. Extra crowd control should mean the rel can go down. Remember, no flash from earlier. And so Xiaohu going to be able to pick up that kill.
Chris went the long way round to try to get a bit of a flank going, but once the TPs came in, unfortunate, just going to give that kill over, and that's going to make JackeyLove a little bit less comfortable in this lane. Just going to delay things a little bit. So, Weibo, they are showing that they can fight their way back. Again, their early games have not been the issue. It's been their later game team fighting and really decision-making around objectives that's been hurting Weibo. Not too bad during the early stage. We're going to have the grubs spawning in just about over a minute's time. We've got the first Drake up and available, though. It's going to be a Chemtech, not necessarily the one people think about the most as we watch Kanavi, again, just keep up the bullying.
Again, because Tian went for that early dive, that is still the first spawn of the blue buff that is available for the taking, and Kanavi, with a pushing top laner, is going to be able to come in and collapse upon this objective and should be able to pick it up with that smite. Ouch. So that's the trade-off of going for a dive like that early on, especially if you end up falling. That was a 4-camp lead for this Skarner in the jungle.
And Skarner, of course, clears incredibly quickly, whilst also being a massive tanky menace, but Lilia clears the fastest. That's the point of the champion, is being able to just speed through your clears, get that level 6 burst, and then start being useful on the map. To fall this far behind early, to be down as much as Tian is at the moment, just really not ideal, and it really does suck, you know, versus that former team. All of that narrative that we were talking about earlier on, Kanavi really just getting the better of this matchup at the moment, despite the fact he's not got any kills or assists right now.
Yeah, if you told me going into this series, you know, Weibo's going to find their jungler, Tian's going to be down like 4 camps at 6 minutes. I would normally think like, oh, that's fine. He's probably playing like Sejuani or, you know, Lee Sin maybe, and has like a bunch of kills.
He's been ganking a bunch on Vi. It's fine.
He's playing Lilia. And this is a champion that you need farm on. You need gold on. You know, you have these lower income soul laners in the Sion and the Talia who don't need as much, play much more utility focused because you have this Lilia. And right now, nothing's going well here for Top Esports, as they're going to be able to get the first go of things on the grubs as well.
But there is going to be a lot of other members around. Breathe actually going to pop the ulti right there. Interesting.
That's a flash. We'll take it.
Yeah, it's something. As on the other side of the map, Weibo, they are going to be able to pick themselves up too, but Top grabs that first one. So it's going to not be an actual move towards the feats from that camp. Top Esports going to be more than happy with the way that this early game has been playing out so far. The Drake still going to be pretty much ignored, as we were saying. It's not going to be one of the highest priority Drakes to be able to pick up. But if you can start Drake stacking right here as Weibo, that could be something to try to play around. Because it has been the Chemtex this early on, it means that the remaining souls could be pretty good for this team.
We think like the mid-game power spike for Weibo is going to be pretty good when you have things like this Talia that could be able to roam around nicely. That's when Sion has the advantage over the Jace. So getting that early soul stacking before maybe top esports gets the full wombo combo potential off. Maybe could mean a little bit here as you see Tian hovering around that bottom side. However, Kanavi has it level 6, Tian still level 5. That's going to be a disadvantage that Weibo jungler going to have to deal with for a while.
Yeah, it's going to take a little bit for him to be able to get back into a good spot. 369 getting jumped right here, goes in.
The Jace has no flash, so he knows that he has to make this a one-way trip. Can he get a kill on the Tian? The W autos are procced. Not enough as really beautifully weaving is Tian spacing as he picks up his first kill of the game.
So close right there to 369 being able to turn that one into a 1-for-1. I respect trying to go back in. But like you said, Tian, really good spacing right there. Fancy footwork to be able to keep himself alive in that one. And now with the top laner dead for top esports, it is going to make things a little bit easier potentially if they want to try to contest onto this Drake. For the minute though, with everybody as low as they are off of that play, it's going to be top esports picking themselves up this initial Drake. And for every good play that Weibo are able to do, it feels like top esports always have a response.
I thought, not gonna lie, I thought Tian was a little crazy going for this one. Breathe didn't have his ulti up just yet, and taking a lot of damage, but it looks like the peel was enough, as that's gonna be a big kill for Tian. Get back into this game.
Indeed. Oh, man. So close. So close. I really did think that it was going to be that kill getting traded back over. It would have been so hype, but unfortunately 369 seems like he's not able to have the best time for the first matchups in a lot of these situations. Hopefully he's going to be able to pull it back as he did in the previous game. As we take a stock of where these teams are at the moment, the gold very even at 9 minutes into this game. The grubs also going even as well. So really these teams have not been able to distinguish themselves from each other early on.
Yeah, you know, slight leads for Light, and now Tian actually ahead in gold because he has that kill. Kanavi, despite the good farm that he's been able to get, hasn't done too much in terms of kills as he just has unlocked that Impale. Would like to see him and Creme become a little bit active on the map, potentially around this next spawn of grubs to happen in about 75 seconds time. Is stealing away this red buff, which is a good thing, and now bot lane could be the target for a dive as the bullet time comes out for JackeyLove and chunks Light to half HP.
Yeah, good chunk of damage right there onto Light, potentially looking for the dive because Kanavi was in the area, but it is always risky to try to do with a Leona in the lane. Makes the dower damage that much more when you're constantly stunned up trying to go for it. Instead, Kanavi going to go and continue the bullying, wants to try steal away just a little bit more from Tian. Isn't able to grab the big chicken, but is able to grab all the little drumlets right there. He'll be happy to just keep this pressure up and has continued to keep himself ahead in terms of the farm. Is now behind a little bit in terms of gold just because of those kills and assists that Tian was able to get involved in.
Little nice interaction there with the Unraveled Earth. That's something that Xiaohu is going to be able to use nicely as we get later into this game against things like the Jace, Rel, and the Azir. And taking stock of where Xiaohu's at in this game right now, down a little bit in farm, but has the kill first off. And he's going to have to be impactful in this game, especially after Tian fell behind just a little bit in that early game. Being able to use the semi-global ultimate better this time around than he did on the Rise in game 1.
Yeah, very hopefully, because it was just such a rough one throughout that first game. It's another champion, though, who's not so much about the damage with the ulti, more looking for the positioning, seeing what you can do, cut off these team fight angles, make it so that top esports aren't able to set themselves up for the wombo combo as they will want to. He's getting a good chunk of damage here onto Creme. Creme just about able to dodge away from the Swell Siege, otherwise that could have turned into a kill.
And that could mean grubs for Weibo, as they already have picked up the first. Looking for at least that 5-to-1 stack, which can get them a little bit of advantage in terms of that turret pushing, as well as getting them an extra objective feat that they can add to their resume to get closer to those feats of strength being fully awarded. So small wins for Weibo across the board after what was a pretty terrible early game dive that went awry for Tian. He's got himself back in this game nicely.
Exactly, and the Lilia is the sort of champion where, because you can farm so quickly, you are able to at least keep yourself within touching distance. You're not going to fall behind massively. You can get involved, and with the ulti potential up and available for him, this next big skirmish that we see both teams actually engage in could end up being massive. But right now, those teams seem more than happy to skirmish in their individual lanes. JackeyLove actually having to flash right there. Flash and cleanse. Dang. JackeyLove has had so much threat be put onto him throughout this game.
Yeah, so Hung and Light doing a good job in that 2v2, forcing summoner spells out of JackeyLove. We'll see if that becomes an issue or a topic of conversation here as the dragon is spawning in 90 seconds. Is that Infernal and top esports were able to pick up the first one? As if they can get some dragons, that will allow them to bridge the gap closer to that later game team fight stage of the game, which would be very nice for them.
Absolutely. They're going to be looking to get themselves that 2-3 item point, then you're going to be in a really nice spot to be able to work your way through these team fights. First items are coming through for the majority of the champions at the moment. You can see the Heartsteel just completed right here for Kanavi, so he's going to be getting very tanky very, very quickly. And the Bloodthirster also just completed right there for JackeyLove. So this wombo combo composition, whilst it's not at its peak at the moment, is already online. If you can find that initial engage, either from Crisp or from Creme, then that's a way to just wreck through a team fight immediately for Weibo, and they're going to have to be very careful of that one, Weibo Gaming.
See how much a team like Top Esports wants to fight around this dragon, because JackeyLove just burned both of his summoner spells, just uses ultimate to clear a wave top lane. He is hovering mid right now to catch that wave, and 369 is situated top with that teleport available, but if Weibo get this dragon, it's not the end of the world for them, as they can still like push until later on in the game where maybe you are a little bit stronger. However, at these one item power specs, wouldn't be super surprised to see Top Esports want to fight.
Absolutely. I think if I would be them, going in, trying to find that initial engage, especially if you can catch Light without his abilities to get away, but Xiaohu more specifically going to be very vulnerable to be just jumped from this entire composition right here out of TES, and once he's down, it's quite a lot of the damage that they're going to be looking to play around just gone. Drake is available, the Infernal, and once again, Weibo, they seem to have the priority fast track towards the majority of these objectives so far in the early game.
They are going to be able to get there first, and 369 has no real reason to teleport at this point, instead trying to focus out Xiaohu, who is also clearing with him on the top side. It will just be top giving up this dragon and living to fight another day. Zenith Blade nearly connects onto Crisp, but not that engage found. We are still even in gold, now even in dragons as well.
Yeah, it's interesting actually to me that Top Esports have decided to sit back so much throughout the early stages of this game. They haven't been too interested in going flying in right now. Are potentially looking for a little bit of a skirmish right here around this Scuttle Crab. Kanavi forced to flash away from that ulti. Now chooses to re-engage.
Yeah, Chris has his flash and the Magnet Storm available, but not using it just yet. Right now, Tian is trapped in the Dragon Pit, but so is Kanavi with Breathe at the fight as well. Battle lines have been drawn. JackeyLove, remember, without Summoner Spells, is being collapsed upon by Hung. And Xiaohu, with the Weaver's Wall, will be able to take the Misfortune down. Breathe gets another kill back, though, as Weibo still looking strong in this fight. A two-man seismic shove. Finally, Xiaohu has arrived to this series, and Weibo Gaming picked themselves up an ace.
TES, they go for the re-engage, having missed out onto the Drake, onto the Scuttle Crab, and it just does not work out for them right there. They get completely split apart. Xiaohu plays that one excellently with both the ulti and then that seismic shove to really close things out. But initially, it's just an inability right here from TES to actually be able to finish off a couple of these kills. They're able to grab one or two of them at the very start, but the teleports come through so slowly. And you can see specifically onto Breathe right here, they're just not able to finish this kill, despite the fact they blow almost everything trying to kill him. Tian does fall, but Breathe gets to flash away, then just about gets the shield up as well, and that draws the members of TES way too far forwards into that waiting seismic shove from Xiaohu. Like you said, welcome to the game, buddy.
Finals made it, and the duality of Xiaohu. Game number 1, 0-8. Game number 2, 3-0-3 with a huge team fight. Both the Weaver's Wall to cut off JackeyLove and take the AD carry out of the fight before he was able to do too much. And then, of course, the big finish to the team fight as well. Xiaohu having a good game so far, and it's good to see.
Absolutely, and I think something that looks a little bit worrying right here for Top Esports is their inability to kill this Sion at this point in the game, because this is the point in the game where the Sion's going to be easiest to kill. The later we get, the stronger, the tankier he's going to be. Right now is only sat right with that Sunfire, not in the strongest of positions, but was able to survive so long, draw the TES members in way too far, and if they can't deal with this Sion, then these teamfights are going to be almost impossible.
I will say, like, not the best tank-killing composition that Top Esports has, right? Misfortune, with the build that she's currently going, like, is more crit-oriented, not a ton of armor pen inherently in the build. Creme as well, like, you see right now what the Azir is doing to the Sion is not too much, and it's not going to get too much better as we get later on in this game. And we already have talked about how the Jace in a side lane will be able to get turrets and get push, but will not really be able to move this Sion later on in the game. We've already seen so many great Sion games in the LPL, whether it's from Bin or Flandre. We might see another one here as Weibo looking to add on to their lead as Creme gets bursted down by Hung with another beautiful engage.
Yeah, I'm just using this Leona so far to great effect, getting flashes at the very least, if not being able to pick up that kill right there. The fact that you managed to grab another little bit of damage right here onto Light is in a very strong position at the moment already with these 2 items completed. Now picks up boots on the recall as well. And Weibo, they are in a great spot to be able to win this game, to be able to send us to a game number 3. 3k gold in the advantage, just 17 minutes into the game. And we've got a little bit of respite right here before the next objective is going to be spawning. But once it does, minute and 20 seconds until the Drake is up, that one is going to feel very much in Weibo's favor. TES, they're going to have to find a miracle kind of fight to make this one work. The wombo combo's there, they certainly can do it, but they really need to be careful about where the engage goes.
Right now, Weibo feeling pretty good about where this game is at. 3,500 gold lead. Although top esports, we just have not seen that full wombo combo fully executed on. And that's what it's maybe still holding out hope for them in terms of coming back in this game and taking the series 2 games to none. But right now, the picks and the globe and the mobility around Weibo's composition is working well. Creme. You see Creme once again going to be the target here as Hung is hunting for him once more.
Top lane, we are seeing a little bit of aggression right here onto Breathe. We just talked about how they've been having some issues in trying to kill him. Kanavi going to get stunned up. Really well played right there from Breathe. But there are 4 members of TES right now. They cannot afford to not have this play work. No! And it doesn't work. Oh, man.
Oh, we just choo-chooed on out of there with the unstoppable onslaught. Breathe.
Look what they're losing for it.
As it does mean that, yes, you are correct. Top esports fail on that dive, and they're going to lose out on that mid-tier 2. They're now going to lose Creme as well. The one player who wasn't topside is now going to get targeted as Tian shuts him down.
And that was a dive long in the making, but it works out in the end. You give the kill over to Tian. And Top Esports, this is the complete opposite of what we saw in that previous matchup. They are just getting dismantled left, right, and center.
Should be able to pick up this dragon, unless Top have anything to say about it. They're still without their mid laner, and a teleport is coming in, though, from 369. Top Esports want to fight this one out. We'll see if that bullet time finally comes through. Impale only on the Hung, and that means that the support will still be able to live for now. Crisp, with the crash down, is flashed away from, and here comes the collapse. Weaves all comes out. It splits apart everybody on top, and now it's going to be 2 of their players stuck in the pit. That is 369 and Crisp going down, and Weibo once again controlling the Drake pit.
Yikes, TES, they try way too hard to be able to pick themselves up. That initial kill right there onto Hang. Kanavi going so far as to impale just the enemy support, and it doesn't work. Then the ulti from JackeyLove just doesn't hit anybody either. We'll watch back. Actually, this is going to be the dive that we're going to watch back right here. We didn't end up seeing the start of this one. We certainly did see what the outcome was in the end. Tian just arrives to be able to pick that one up nicely. This, though, this fight, the impale just onto Hang doesn't help out. And then this ulti from JackeyLove, it just doesn't do anything. Tian has to step back for half a second. Like you said, Xiaohu with the great ulti. Hang on.
Creme targeted once again as a really nice Weaver's Wall once more from Xiaohu. However, this time the Azir packs a little bit more of a punch. Nearly takes Tian down with that Sun Disc, but Xiaohu is able to finish off the kill.
Oh, the fact that the Sun Disc didn't quite pop up quickly enough to be able to actually deal the damage needed. Now we're going to watch Breathe engaging onto 369. He may be a tanky Psalm, but he still does a surprising amount of damage right here. And we do have a couple other members from both teams on the way. Yeah,
here comes Hung, already landing the stun. However, the rest of Top Esports potentially on the way, although it is just way too late. Kanavi and Crisp not there in time as 369 goes down.
They are falling apart right now, our Top Esports. Remember, these are the Split 1 champions. They had a bit of a disappointing time in MSI, but during the placement, 6-0 crushed through their group. And Weibo, we thought they might pose a little bit of a threat, but barely managed to give a bit of a speed bump in Game 1. What a turnaround right here.
And tough game for Top Esports. And I think maybe just a bit of a cocky draft that is coming back to bite them a little bit. No prio really in any of their lanes. It started off with that bot lane play. Even though Crisp was able to get himself a double kill, has not turned into much. Otacon was peeled away from, and now Breathe could potentially get targeted here. He flashes, still has that unstoppable onslaught, and will be able to use it basically whenever he wants, but can just actually bait in the rest of Top Esports. Kanavi has to flash away from the decimating smash that he was supposedly in a 1v4 for. And now Top Esports, they might feel like they're a little bit desperate at this point as they start up the Otacon.
Yeah, they're going to see if they can take Otacon. No, not even going to be able to full commit to this one. Top Esports are just going to have to walk away, tail between their legs. Weibo, have just been so strong in this game. This is the Weibo that we were hoping for, the kind of team that can team fight so effectively, and off the back of what has been a much, much better game out of Xiaohu. Had just a terrible time on the Rise in Game 1, but this time on the Talia has looked so much better.
Game 3, seeming more and more likely here, Bloxer, as Top Esports struggling right now. And as I was saying, like, the way that their lanes were set up, nobody was really, was able to get ahead because because there were 3 losing lanes seemingly, especially after JackeyLove was pushed out of that one. So Weibo taking advantage of this right now. They're going to start at the objective too.
And it looks like it is going to be a response right here out of TES. Creme is not in the area. Kanavi is. No, they're not even going to try for it. I mean, I agree. You're likely to lose this team fight if you do. But I just don't know at what point TES are just going to have to try again.
Oh, Xiaohu. That's a very aggressive Weaver's wall. He tries to flash away from the Emperor's Divide. Could be the throw that helped Top Esports get back in this game. Trying desperately to try to save that mid lane tier 1, where in all honesty, you should have just let that one go.
Okay, so we watched a couple questionable round warps in Game 1. That's a questionable Weaver's Wall in Game 2. It's fine. It's all good. Xiaohu's not going to throw his team behind too much, but still, that was a kill going over to exactly where you'd like it to be on Creme. He's now got those 2 items completed in a relatively good spot as the Azir. Still going to need a little bit longer to be able to fully hit that potential that you're looking for. The other pickup I'd like to highlight a little bit here is Kanavi right here on this Skarner, because you said it before, right? This pick is one that he didn't look so good on in their first matchup. That's the only one they lost versus AL. At least they're able to pick up this kill right here. I mean,
what are we doing?
Why?
You could at least angle it a little bit behind the tower. He went straight for the, straight for the
neck. Like, he wanted that kill.
I know. He thought the Weaver's Wall did damage and was trying to hit Creme with a skill shot or something.
Hey, to be fair, if a massive wall of stone just sort of appears out of nowhere on top of you, I think that should do damage, you know? I don't think that's too crazy of an assumption to make right here.
In the real world, yes, but also, Xiaohu has read the ability. He knows that it doesn't do any damage.
I'm certain he's played this champion at least once before, you know? Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. You make a great point. Still, it is just going to be 1 kill going over to TES. It's not going to be the end of the world for Weibo. They're still in such a strong position in this game, up by about 5,000 gold, as they're looking to play around this next Drake. It is going to be a Cloud Drake up and available. JackeyLove takes a huge chunk already just to start this fight off.
Has the Bloodthirster, so should be able to heal up at least a little bit, but the Dragon is going to be started up by Weibo. Getting the soul would be big for them in terms of snowballing this game, and so Kanavi and the rest of Top Esports want to try and put a stop to it. The question is, will they be able to? 369 has a nice flank, but the Dragon's already at half HP. Crisp looking over the wall with the blast gun, but it might just be too late. Bullet time opens up.
Oh,
Kanavi
that's huge!
Gonna try to drag in 3. Here comes Crisp with the Magnet Store at Top Esports. Are going to try to come back in this game. They've already picked up 2. Creme dashes forward. The Dragon gets picked up by Kanavi, but now Light is 6-0. Still in the backline on this Ezreal and looking to try to do some more damage. They make it overall a 2 for 2, but a nice wombo combo is a glimpse of what we can expect to see from Top Esports later in this game.
I say it all the time with these wombo combo compositions. It only has to work once for you to just completely dismantle whatever your opposition have built, and that worked beautifully. Crisp, JackeyLove making it happen themselves. Huge damage right there off of the bullet time. We'll watch back onto that one as the engage just gorgeous out of Crisp.
It was Kanavi too. 3-man impale. And Crisp follows it up.
And then Crisp comes in secondary to pull it through. Oh, just so nicely done. And that's what we needed to see, right? Kanavi also picking up the Drake on the backside of this fight is huge. Just before he falls as well, exactly what they needed. And a 2 for 2 and the Drake, when you've been this far behind in gold throughout the entirety of the game, is massive for TES. Anything that they can get that's equal is actually a victory for them.
And man, the unsung hero of that team fight, we talked about for Weibo saving that one. It was Light, actually, who is very quietly become the strongest player in this game. 7-0-5. He was able to zone off 369 and actually kill him 1v1 on his own as an Ezreal, preventing him from even closing the gap and allowing for Top Esports to continue the collapse. And now Xiaohu looking for another Weaver's Wall, potentially finds himself in a bad situation as he's in melee range of 369, but the rest of his team is here to follow up, so 369 has to back away. Teleport comes in. It is Breathe, making it 5 members strong for Weibo up on the top side.
And that's a big ulti before a potential Baron play to just use to not even be able to pick up the kill right here onto 369. He's going to be able to head back to base. Has the teleport available if he needs to quickly rejoin his team as well. He's going to head towards the bottom lane to get that wave pushing. TES, despite the fact they're still down by a decent chunk of gold, about 4k, it is a lot less than they were down by previously, and they're now beginning to threaten a little bit onto Weibo. But these combos have to work individually. This TES composition really doesn't do too much. It's all about what they can do together to really be able to make this one work. Weibo, they're a lot more free in who they can try to play around.
Yeah, they still have a lot of agency. It started off like a really good fight for top esports, and they were able to even up that dragon count at the very least. But Weibo, they evened up the kill count in that fight, made it a 2 for 2, and they still have themselves that 4,000 gold lead. The main carries for this one, it has to be light at this point too. You know, he's basically the main physical damage threat here for Weibo Gaming. 3.5 full items already, and you look across the board, Xiaohu and Tian aren't doing so bad either.
No, they're having a perfectly good game for themselves right now. This game, despite the fact that there's that big gold advantage, still kind of feels like it's a bit on a knife's edge right now. Xiaohu, look in the inventory, right? 2 needlessly large rods. He's going to have that death cap completed very soon, already dealing just a crazy amount of damage at this point. Once that one's completed, just going to be able to wreck in these team fights, and not having enough damage if the wombo combo doesn't land is TS's biggest problem right now. They've got proactive champions, but you can't get that damage down without it all happening simultaneously. Weibo, they just have to be careful to have enough warding to make sure that they don't get caught out unawares.
Yeah, I will say, like, we saw glimpses of what that team fight could look like for top esports.
Yeah.
With the Skarner ulti into the MF ulti, Chris following up. Basically, everybody just pressing R onto as many players as possible. But it still wasn't enough. They were still too far down. However, now Infinity Edge picked up here for JackeyLove. He's got that Lord Doms in addition to it, so should be able to do a little bit of extra damage to breathe in terms of somebody who can finally try to take this Sion down. But it might not be enough just yet, as the Baron is up, Dragon up in a minute again. I mean, when do TES want to fight? Do they want to wait out another Dragon? Will they fight for the eventual soul, or do they want to go now?
I think that they're in a pretty good spot at the moment with a lot of these third items completed onto the main carries that they could probably go for this one. At the same time, if they just continue to sit around in this mid lane and not make themselves choose, make Weibo pick which one of these objectives to fight around, I think that's also going to work out. They've got a composition that doesn't mind getting to these objectives a little bit later on, to then grab the wombo combo a second after you've already engaged, you've already used a couple of your tools.
They're definitely going to want to fight around this Baron, though, as 369 has arrived, throws out a Shock Blast onto Xiaohu, but already that Baron at half HP. Here comes Hung with his Zenith Blade, but it's going to be jumped away from by Crisp. Peeled off the Baron. Here comes a two-man sleep. It's on to JackeyLove, who has to cleanse. Weaver's Wall comes out, but it's canceled, so Xiaohu not in a bad spot. Impale only finds one. The bullet time not enough as Tian goes golden. And right now, top esports have already used all their juice, but will it be enough? It's a 2-for-1 at 369, picks up a kill onto the Leona, and now they're trying to collapse. Weibo in drastic trouble right now. Crisp looking for the knock-up on the light. Will be able to find it. Crash down from 369, and it is an ace picked up for top. A quadra kill for the Jace.
And this happens every game, it feels like. 369, he loses an early kill, but it doesn't matter once he gets back into the game. Quadra kill right here, and with enough members still alive to push these waves through, it's a massive victory here for top esports. They might also be able to turn this one around into the Baron. JackeyLove very low, but obviously he's got a lot of healing that he can get through that Bloodthirster. With 369 in the area, this is going to be Baron on the backside of so many kills.
It's got to be down. Everybody is dead still for Weibo. Let's take another look at this one.
Watch 369 throughout this fight, right? Because the initial engage actually looks really good from Weibo. They're able to completely split Kanavi off from the rest of the team with a really good Weaver's Wall. But 369, he's biding his time, and it's the point at which the damage has already been blown from Weibo, where he decides, now I can go in, now I can try to actually play this one out properly. There's a lot of engages happening. Crisp finds the engage, and then he's just in, cleaning up the kills, exactly what you want to do on this champion.
369 was 0-5.
Yeah.
Going into this fight. Now he's 4-5.
Look how
and now top
excited
esports have a Baron as well. You see the coaching staff is fired up. Trade will be the sole point going over to Weibo, but If you're top, you don't care at all about that. You just even up the gold lead.
No, not even slightly. And another key point of that initial team fight was that Kanavi lived, despite the fact that the Weavers Wall came through and he was stunned up for a huge amount of time and was only able to impale onto one member of Weibo Gaming. He still was able to just about get away. And without that initial kill, Weibo, they kind of use all of their damage for nothing and aren't able to turn it around into an actual team fight win. We've been talking so much about the gold lead. Well, it was 7k just 10 minutes ago. Now it's back to being pretty much dead even, a small advantage even for Top Esports. They have well and truly clawed their way back into this game. They are not interested in playing a game number 3.
And you look at who's the most ahead here for top. Now it's 369. He was 0-5. He was in this matchup against a Sion that he wasn't going to be able to do much for, but he didn't play it for the lane. He played it for how it can operate in these team fights. And now 4 full items on him, a Mob Malmortius to prevent extra damage from Tian and Xiaohu from doing too much to him. 369 all of a sudden in a great position to try and help Top Esports carry this game to a win.
Really, really is. You have to be careful on the Jace. You've got plenty of poke damage available to you, but when you go jumping in, you've got to make sure it's in the right situation. That's why we saw 369 barely get involved in that team fight until the very end. But once all of that damage has been blown by Weibo, it's a great point to be able to jump in, clean up, and then turn it around and grab whatever objective everybody was fighting over initially. The Baron was for TES previously. They're also going to be able to grab that Sun Disc in the mid lane. So this pressure onto the tower going to be pretty big at the moment. It's going to be a bit tricky for Weibo to be able to step up and actually clear out these minion waves.
Baron buff just for another 48 seconds or so. Only 1 grub here for top, so that is helpful a little bit if you're a fan of Weibo. Nicely used seismic shove to get the cannon wave in. As we get about 1.5 more waves of this buff being available here for Top Esports. They have not been able to break open an inhibitor, but not the end of the world considering that they were behind after taking this buff, and at this point just trying to get as much gold back into the pockets of their carries as they can. Solar Flare comes out, but Creme is able to get away nicely, and so will not matter.
Yeah, really well played. And it's been multiple times right here out of TES where they've found that wombo combo. Wombo combo compositions are very popular in League, but it can be tricky to actually find that moment. That previous team fight wasn't even the case. It was Weibo over-aggressing and not being able to finish off kills that won that one for Top Esports. But if they can find that wombo now that they're not behind in gold, that they're actually a little bit ahead, all of a sudden that's where the real power is there, and you can actually just fully one-tap somebody as JackeyLove if you're able to get a good ulti off for completed items. He is so strong at the moment.
Yeah, and you know, Jackie didn't even do too much in that fight that Top Esports was able to win.
No.
He had to, you know, he flashed away. He initially he got slept and so had to cleanse early, and then the bullet time didn't do all too much. It was mostly 369 doing the heavy lifting, but JackeyLove now in a much better position than he was the last time that fight happened, and so can be big, especially, you know, around these major objectives that Top Esports should be able to control early, which in general I think should help them out, especially because they want to avoid having this Cloud Soul go over to Weibo.
Absolutely. 1 minute 40 seconds until the next Drake is going to spawn. As you said, Cloud Soul available for Weibo Gaming if they're able to pick it up. TES could send themselves to Soul Point if they're able to grab this one, so it's going to be an incredibly hotly contested objective. I'm not sure that Cloud Soul's going to be able to save Weibo from bad team fights, but it will certainly make getting themselves into good spots that much easier. As that top lane tower just going to be forced down, and ulti actually blown out of breath right now. That's going to have a long enough cooldown that he won't have that available for this next Drake fight.
Should be right around when it spawns,
yeah.
I believe. So some of the CDR that it's in his kit, but you know, right on rip, not going to be able to start and engage before that dragon spawns. That is going to be big, especially because now he's going to probably have to burn that TP early instead of using that semi-global to get to the fight instead. Yep. Clearing out that top side wait for now, as actually Weibo have that early control of the pit, but now resets coming in for Top Esports, and Weibo have to be a little bit more careful now.
And there's a few key things as well that are available to Top Esports. You've got that golden available for Creme if he wants to go flying in, can reposition himself, and then just sit golden, allow the rest of the team fight to happen around him. Going to be key to see if you can keep Creme alive, because he is a ton of the damage in the sustained fights. JackeyLove very much going to be about using that ulti, but once these fights goes a little bit longer, that's where 369 and Creme are going to be looking to get as much damage down in the extended. Again, going in. Want to breathe, not exactly who you want to be grabbing.
Creme's passive doing a lot to try and generate some pressure in the mid lane. JackeyLove does get hit by the Swirl Seed. Not going to have that Lilting Lullaby
Kanavi.
popped just yet. Kanavi over the wall. Weibo are very separated as Breathe. Not really with the rest of the team right now. Tian on the wrong side of things as well. But finally, here comes the sign. It lands a knockup only onto Kanavi. And now Breathe has to run away. But he's going across to the enemy side of the map. Bullet time comes out. Nearly chunks the Sion out. He does have the teleport, so he can back and rejoin the team. But this might be the Cloud Soul started up here by Top Esports. Weaver's Wall will block him away from the Dragon for now. Teleport not channeled just yet as Breed still has to head back to base. It's at 6,000 HP. Gonna have to be a steal from Tian if they want to prevent the Soul from going down. Here comes Kanavi. Light gets hit up by the Impale, but he's able to cleanse away. There comes the Dragon. It's secured. That Soul here for Weibo, but Top Esports, they might be able to do something. Knockup lands here onto Kanavi. He's doing a lot of damage here. 369 gets stunned up. There comes a big Shurima shuffle, and JackeyLove is still full HP. Xiaohu goes golden. He's able to pick up the shutdown, but Light is still alive. And Kanavi is the lone survivor on Top Esports. Top get the Dragon, but Weibo are going to win this fight off of their big 80 carry.
And how long are the death timers right here? Because you do a lot of tower damage between Light and Breathe. They are going to be able to push forwards long death timers right now. 30 seconds until Creme's back available. Crisp is up in 15, so this shouldn't be the end of the game, but they are going to lose themselves an inhibitor at least at this point.
We'll see. They're posturing aggressively right now. Sion does have the ultimate. We could do a little bounce special. They go to the Nexus turrets if they want to play aggressive. There he goes, choo-chooing right between the Nexus towers. They only get the full damage onto one, and Crisp has respawned. Here he goes, trying to crash down, at least try to get some of the minion waves. Second Nexus tower is down. Light is 11-0 on this Ezreal. He wants to end this game right now. He's on to the Nexus. Looking, one more auto. We're headed to a game number 3.
Oh, Weibo, by the skin of their teeth, just about going to be able to win this matchup. Like you said, we're going to get a game number 3. What a back and forth one that was.
Oh my goodness, it looked like Weibo just completely threw away their lead, and then what only could be described as a flip of a team fight. As Top Esports, it looked like they had the advantage after they chunked out Breathe, but he was able to teleport back to the fight. And then the unsung hero of this game is Light, saving multiple team fights for Weibo in this game, including that game-clinching one, and then hitting the Nexus to close it out himself.
Yeah, Light had a very good game. Gotta make a few question marks around some of the decision-making in that fight. Specifically, JackeyLove using the ulti to try to just about get a kill onto the Sion. Wasn't even able to pick up that kill, but I think even if you do pick up that kill, once you've used the bullet time early in that team fight, the threat of the wombo combo is gone. That's the main thing that you're looking for to pair up with all of the other CC, and as soon as that's gone, everybody on Weibo, you can see that the demeanor changed from sitting back, not trying to get involved. All of a sudden, they were happy to go in.
And man, I need to get another look at that last team fight. We'll get it in the replays eventually, Bloxer, but it looked so close for so long. Creme looked like he might have saved it by throwing out a big ultimate, but maybe he actually ended up hurting his team instead because actually shoving 4 members right into JackeyLove, who ended up going down. Light, though, on this Ezreal, man, again. You saw, actually, in the picture, and the cameras on the bottom, after they lost that fighter on the Baron, he looked very visibly distraught in that moment, like kind of holding his hands to his head. But he locked in at the end of that one, and he is, in my opinion, the clear MVP for Weibo.
Yeah, I mean, the way that Weibo played, everybody was able to get themselves a few nice team fights during the early stages. Everybody made a couple of mistakes, but I think Light had a really nice look. Xiaohu, too, I think had a lot better plays. Obviously, he sort of started the throw that they were doing with that odd play in the mid lane where he goes flying in underneath the tower and just dies. It opens up a lot of time right there for Top Esports, part of why they managed to get themselves back in, but it was a significantly better performance from him than it was on the Rise. If Weibo Gaming have any hope of being able to win this next game and actually get the series off of TES, he's going to have to be another big part of it.
Yeah, you think of other champions that have the semi-globals down the line, like Galio or something. Yeah, this is when it looks like somebody's heart rate after watching a banger game. That's when you know it was a real good one, right? You know, Weibo had control for so long, then they threw it away after that Baron. You can see the team fight happened right after 30 minutes. Boom. They got the Baron after that. But then Weibo were able to bounce back, take that fight somehow, some way. And you look at the damage charts, you know, 369 did a little bit, but it was Light on the other side.
41% of your team's damage is crazy. I mean, the Ezreal always has such an insane damage split compared to the rest of the teammates when played well. But still, that is a ridiculous amount of damage to have been able to do. Like you said, the highlights are going to reveal a lot of the story of this game, because it starts out so badly for Weibo right here with this completely botched dive that gives 2 kills over to Crisp, but then actually the early to mid game looked much better from them, something that they just didn't show us in the previous game.
And it's another situation where, again, Kanavi on this Skarner, he should be able to get a big advantage after losing, or after gaining so much tempo off of that failed bot lane dive, and he did get up 5 or 6 camps at some point in the game. But it didn't really end up mattering after that. As we get a look at some of these fights, Weibo, and Light specifically, playing all these out really, really well.
Yeah, was able to just space his way through a lot of these team fights incredibly effectively. Obviously, there's some moments where he just gets squished and jumped and there's very little that you can do. But still, he's dealing massive amounts of damage, even if he does end up falling, which I don't think he does in this fight. No, this was the one where he just is about is able to keep himself alive. It very much does feel like an MVP performance from him on this Ezreal. But it'll be interesting to see what else he has available to play at the moment. He's played a lot of the standard pickups. The Jhin really didn't look so good from him. This Ezreal looked much, much better.
Yeah, and just the position that he was put in, you know, even though the rest of his team died in that dive, he didn't, so he's able to get an extra wave or 2 there. This is an instance where things actually looked okay here for the side of Top Esports. Off the back of 369, as we said. And this is where we thought that maybe they had some chance, but now I think we're about to get into this last team fight where Weibo were somehow able to win it.
Yeah, I mean, this last team fight was so crazy in that Light's already having to cleanse, is having to flash over the back of the wall, but still, he's able to do so much damage throughout this fight. And this was the moment where, like you said, potentially a little bit suspect.
Oh, it was
pushing
Creme.
Everybody over. All 3 members get pulled over. 369 immediately ends up getting popped, as does JackeyLove. And yeah, I mean, I understand the idea, right, with the Azir ulti there. It does a lot of damage, it pushes people close together, but you don't have that wombo combo tool. Maybe if JackeyLove still had that ulti at that point in the team fight, then it works. Unfortunately for them, he just doesn't.
Creme also dashes into the Unraveled Earth that was thrown out by Xiaohu earlier on in the fight, which meant he got stunned, and it was a very telegraphed move of what he was about to press when he would stun for a little bit before pressing that R button, and it gave Weibo a good time to respond. Light was able to recover from that incredibly well and pick up an insane teamfight win to end the game, and then nice call from them as well to just full send it down the bot lane. Know that this is their angle. Only Crisp was back alive. You got to look at the MVP. It's got to be Light. Yep, there it is on the Ezreal.
I would have been truly shocked if it was anybody else. Light had such an incredible performance right here on the Ezreal. Was a part of so many of the kills, did so much of his team's damage, and really was just the engine that was able to keep them going even when things got a little bit suspect during that late mid game. It was still fine. He was still able to deal the damage that needed to happen. In that last team fight, was really able to just pull it out of the bag. They end up picking up the win, so we do have to go to a game number 3 right here. Top Esports, they still feel like they're the favorites in this series, but Weibo have definitely made it very interesting.
I mean, it would have been full mental damage dealt if Top Esports were somehow able to win that game, but now we can just say that Weibo took care of business in game number 2, and we got a full slate of